Hey guys, it's Letter Magic, and we're joined here by Mr. Nibbles, Black Death, SEAL Team 6, whatever this is, Tap Dance, and Beholder. And it's because it's time for the shuffling video. That's right, we're finally going to teach you how to shuffle. Now you're probably thinking, I know how to shuffle. That's what I thought. Honestly, seriously, I thought I was quite good at shuffling until I took a look at it a lot of months ago and discovered that, well, the reason I kept losing, the reason I kept having really anomalous things happen during the game was purely because I was shuffling in a non-random method. Now, if you build a deck on a spreadsheet and you do all the math and you count it out and you have like 8 of a card and 12 of a card and you need them to meet up and do a combo and you say, okay, that's going to happen like 85% of the time, that all goes out the window. It could be 10% if you're not shuffling properly or randomly. There really is no proper way to shuffle other than making your cards not have a pattern in them. So when people say, oh, you need to learn how to shuffle properly or you need to shuffle better, they mean stop leaving patterns in your deck and properly randomize them. Well, now, unfortunately, Magic the Gathering decks are made with 60 or more cards, and all the famous math about shuffling is with 52 card playing cards. And those are laminated, they're meant to slide, they're easier to shuffle in general, they can bend and they can flex back. So, especially when you consider all the sleeves that are on these decks, it is way harder to shuffle Magic the Gathering cards. But I'll show you the way that people usually screw it up, and hopefully that'll at least help you out a little bit. Now, it's a well-known study that says 7 riff shuffles of 52 cards puts the cards in such a configuration, I believe they said, that any combination is as likely as any other combination. I technically disagree, but it only applies to Magic the Gathering, sort of. So that's where it breaks apart a little bit. So let's just take out my Beholder deck. These sleeves are ancient, obviously. I think they're Dragon Shield, so they're pretty slick, but they're obviously a little dirty. So, you know, normal people, they shuffle like that. Now, these sleeves have seen it all. You can see they're kind of sticking together. I'm getting clumps, and that's what you don't want. If you're playing with dirty used sleeves like this, I can barely separate these. I mean, those 4 cards are not going to come apart. No matter how many times I do this, those cards are not going to come apart. I don't know, they kind of did. We got 3 left. But you can tell there's just too much friction, and there's just too much grouping. This is why I like to play with matte sleeves instead of these real glossy ones, because they tend to do this. They pick up a lot of dirt. So this deck is just hard to randomize. I would either take them one at a time, put them down, and just wash the back with a paper towel and rubbing alcohol. 91% pure would be great. That's what you can commonly find. And then, you know, just leave them out like this. You can't really stack them, just leave them out to dry, and then flip them over and do the fronts. You know, it sounds tedious, it takes like 5 minutes, or just re-sleeve the entire deck, which takes about the same amount of time, but a lot more money. So, you know, you can obviously see why I'm telling you to clean your sleeves. And you can just kind of go like this and just see how they fall. You know, compared to a new deck, this is so chunky. I mean, it's just unbelievable. There is no way, as it sits, to randomize this deck properly. It can't be done. You could shuffle it 30 times, it wouldn't be properly random. So that's a good starting point. Don't use dirty sleeves. Now with Mr. Nibbles here, we've got, boom, Legion sleeves. I love these. Look at these. Look at these. These are great. I don't love Legion sleeves in general, but you just can't get over the awesome artwork. I mean, They have some funny sleeves, that's all I'm going to say. Now, this is the thing that I do that I've noticed other people don't do. These are facing all kinds of different directions. And I've had so many people come up to me and ask me, why don't you care about the direction of your sleeves? Well, because then I could just do this. You know, if I've got cards on the table, I could just scoop them. I don't have to worry about the order, I don't have to worry about shuffling carefully. You know, I could just shuffle them and get it over with. Now, you don't want to do that in a tournament because it could be considered marking. Because if you purposely pick up all your lands upside down and then shuffle them into your deck upside down and they're the only ones upside down, you're going to get called on it. So what'll happen is a judge will say, okay, let's see which ones are facing which way. Oh, there's no pattern. Okay, cool, you're good. You know, have a time extension, have a warning, try not to do it again. Now, there is an upside and a downside to this, though. As you can see, if I'm flipping a bunch of cards down to shuffle with my thumb, I'm pretty good with these sleeves. They're pretty clean. I mean, they're slick, but they're clean. You know, they're real slick. If I flip the bottom, it's easy. I'm flipping the bottom. If I flip the top, there's a little catch there. There's a little stretch, as you can see. So it's really hard to drop these accurately with your thumb. Now if you get the speed and the technique just right, I mean, you can see I'm not getting stuck or anything right here. I'm not splitting any sleeves. Ta-da. It's not that hard, but it does affect it. Every little tiny variance affects the randomization, so keep that in mind. Now one more thing is if they're all facing the same direction, one thumb is on the top of the cards and one thumb is on the bottom of the cards. So you're always going to shuffle them a little bit weird if they're all facing, whoops, the same direction. Oh, and then I go and TP the cards. It's because I'm not paying any attention whatsoever. So that's cleaner sleeves. You can see they shuffle a lot better, and they're just easier to control. You can just get your thumbs down like this and just almost drop them every other. I mean, it's just so easy to work with clean sleeves. So once again, clean your sleeves, and the direction, if you want to mix it up, I mean, I go with symmetrical ones that don't have any printing 99% of the time, at least with serious decks and serious tournaments. Because then, one, nobody can say that they're all facing different directions and they're marked, because, I mean, they could. I can still see where the opening is. Like, I could still look at this deck and say the next card, that's a bottom, and the next card, that's a top. You know, you could just see, because sometimes the card will even be sticking out a little bit, like that. You could see it. It's pretty obvious. Now these are my absolute favorite sleeves right here. They are virtually indestructible. They don't get marked, they don't get bent, they don't get scratched, they don't get dirty. They're matte and they don't fall over when you push them, like an air hockey table. Oh my gosh, do I hate Dragon sleeves for that. You gotta nick them up or sand them or get them all sticky and dirty, and then they stop doing that. These are just lovely. I think these are Pro Mats. You would think I would know. I bought like a lot of them from my distributor at once, so the name of them hasn't really come up much. This is, of course, my El Zombie deck. I had to think about that for a second. What has this in there? So look at how smooth these shuffle. Look at the control I have with my thumbs. That's crazy. They're so smooth, so slick. Absolutely amazing. But I've had people who say that they just can't shuffle this brand. They can't do it. So what I would suggest is just, you know, have your friend's deck, say, hey, could I try shuffling it for a while? And what brand of sleeves are you using? If you're like, yes, these are my sleeves, I love them, I have to have these, then buy them. You know, because then you're buying the best product for you, and you're increasing your odds of winning by buying certain sleeves. I mean, you wouldn't think, but if you can properly randomize your deck and they're not sticking together and there's no patterns and there's no static electricity, there's no, you know, nothing that interferes with shuffling, then you have a higher chance of winning because your deck is random and it's going to work properly. So if you are confident in your sleeves, or whether you are or not, you can test this. You want to see how well you can release the cards with your thumb, because clumping them is the #1 way to not randomize cards. If there's dirt or something sticky or residue or grease or anything on your cards, and then they're sticking together, they're not going to separate, and you're going to keep pulling them in sequence. So if they're an advantageous combo, great. If they're not, they're not. And you would say, okay, isn't that a wash? No. I'm not going to explain the math, but people have asked me to explain the math. I'm not sure I even could. But if the deck isn't random, it's not going to work. And if it is predictable, it isn't going to work. That's just, it's more likely to not work if there's a pattern. It just, in general, take my word for it. So if you want to test a deck to see how well you can shuffle it, you could just try and kind of watch, and you could just say, okay, let's shuffle it. It's really hard to watch. I mean, that was like 1 second. It's really hard to go back and look, even from the side, how big your piles were. But, I mean, pretty much my thumb let go 3 to 5 cards every single time. I mean, look at that. That's pretty bad. But, good lord, these are dirty. That is so bad. The other way to do it is to just go like this. You can't put that much energy on it. Terrible. I'm even not very good at this. Alright. And you can see that wasn't very good. That was pretty chunky. I was letting these go. You almost want to just do it like this. And you can see, okay, those are some pretty bad piles. Now, let's see if I can do better with a clean deck with better brands of sleeves. Yep. Almost none of them are touching. I mean, virtually none of them are touching. If they are, it's a coincidence, you know, they just happen to land there. So you can kind of do that little arc, you know, like that. And you can see I always mess up the top. Oh, it's terrible. But other than that, the sleeves are performing well, my thumbs aren't. And that's good to know. That's really good to know. There we go. So you don't want to kind of crap out at the end. That's probably the number one mistake I see besides people using bad sleeves, is they get this beautiful every other look at that absolute art, and then, well, I didn't do it that time, but then they kind of crap out at the top. So let's just rush it. There we go. Now you can see I left an enormous pile near the top. This is basically 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. That's not random. I might as well have not even shuffled. So let's see if I could do it a little bit more precisely. There we go. A little bit more effort, a little bit more randomization, and there's a pile of 3. That's about it. So that is the difference between 15 cards not changing and 15 cards changing. So now let's get into testing the randomness of a deck, because I could look at this and say, okay, how random is it? I have no idea. How do you test randomness? I don't know. So that didn't do me any good at all. So let's get into that, because that's where this gets really interesting. One thing you can do is just take out all the lands. There we go. All the lands. Now, people have said this. I'm sure people have told you this. Okay, this is my hand at the end of the game. All right, we got that. There's a graveyard. Don't pick up all your lands and then just shuffle them in your deck or stack them on your deck, because then they'll be clumped. Wrong! You need to learn how to shuffle to the point where doing this doesn't matter. You will still get random cards, because if you can't separate 22 lands that are on the bottom and split them into the deck, then you're not doing it with your spells or your creatures either. You know, you pick up your graveyard, you pick up your line of creatures, they're not moving around in your deck. So you do need to shuffle to the point where these lands will show up within the deck. So let's hit it 7 times. I'm going to use my best shuffling technique here and see how we can distribute these. There we go, there's 1.
2. Whoops. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7.
So that took, I don't know, what, 30 seconds? Let's see how I did. Non-non, land, land, non-land, land, non-non, land, land, non-land, land, non-non, non-land, non, non-non, land, non, non-non, land, non-non, land. Ooh, little mistake there, unless that was a coincidence. That is within odds, though. Non, land, non. And keep in mind, for every land, there's 2 non-lands. Non, land, non, I think that was just bad luck, honestly, but if you get that result, you should probably say to yourself, hey, I think I'm screwing up. But I rushed those a little bit, so maybe I did screw those up. So let's try a little bit different method, because those were pretty good shuffles. There we go. Whoops. Screeching scab. Alright. Let's try it again, and let's use the method that I actually use at tournaments. This time we'll go to the top. So, split the deck approximately half. And let's shuffle it 7 times, see what happens. Honestly, I lost count. I think that was 7. Whoops. There we go. So let's see. Non, land, 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 non-land, land, non-land, land, non-land, 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 land, 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 non-non, land, 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 non. I would say that was random. I mean, you saw some pockets of 5 and 6, but in 60 cards, with land being 1/3 of the deck and non-lands being 2/3, that is reasonable. You can have that happen. And if you compare every group of 7 cards to what you would consider to be a good pull or a typical pull, I mean, there you go. 2 lands, couple spells, couple creatures, there you go. So I slap those down on the top of the deck. You can't get any more not random than that. But as you can see, I added in a specific shuffling method, and this is where I disagree with the experts in the poker community. Okay, and any other game that plays with 52 cards. Like, at all. Like, playing cards. So, what I did was, well, if you riff shuffle, you're putting, well, let's see, I didn't even pay attention. This was the top, this was the bottom. So some of the bottom cards stay on the bottom, okay, but some of the bottom cards went up to the top. So now, we split it again, and these were the bottom. So then still, some of the cards are staying on the bottom. It's about 50% every time. So, there we go. And still, some cards from the bottom are on the bottom. You could shuffle as many times as you want, and you're not going to lift certain cards off the bottom. They're going to stay there. So if you memorize, like, the bottom 20, or like the bottom 20 are lands, a certain number of them are going to stay there. So if I put 20 lands on the bottom, probably after, 5, 10 shuffles, at least 2 of them are still on the bottom. And that's not random. You can predict that. Anything that you can predict is not random. So what I threw in was a couple just chop cuts, which this goes top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, top. There we go. Now the tops and the bottoms are all screwed up. It was chunky. It was, 10 cards at a time, but now I'm splitting it. And I'm riff shuffling again. So then I continue riff shuffling. Bottom goes to the top, top goes to the bottom, and there is no top and bottom anymore. And then I do it one more time. So usually it's 7 or 8 shuffles with some chop cuts. And I've never had this fail. I added a less chunky riff shuffle because I used to purposely just chunk it like that, and just think, oh, I'm just doing it for speed reasons. I don't want to split my sleeves. I don't want to put undue wear on them, so I'm going to do it real chunky. Jeez, I'm so good at it now I can't even do it. There, like that. I was losing games because of this, because I would just sweep up my 8 land base, do that, they'd all get stuck together, and I'd pull 5 in my opening hand and lose because of it. So you don't want to do that. You want to get every other. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. You do want, you don't want exactly 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 all the way up. That's not random. That's a pattern. You want some piles of 2 and 3 to be released by your thumb at a time. That's why if your cards are facing all different directions, some of them get a little tiny bit delayed because of the tops. Your thumb just hits that, and it just widens it and gives it a little delay, and maybe it'll drop a single card, and then the other one will drop 2 cards in that time. That's random because you don't know what's going to happen.